Hi, welcome to a new series called A Video of Mine Gets Taken Down and the project files are on a hard drive that's broken, so I have to send off the drive to be fixed, but then it takes too long, so I decided to just redo the whole thing. So for those of you who want the quick version of why I'm popping up before this video, here are the main points, and here's the time where it starts. Feel free to skip ahead, but if you want a more in-depth story, let me tell you a tale. Back in January 2019, I made a video on Transference, the 2010 album by Spoon, who are the greatest band of all time. A lot of people really liked the video, but it was blocked worldwide at some undetermined time. For real, I was never sent an email about it. I think someone had to comment on another video in August to let me know. Now, in normal circumstances, I would have just re-edited the video and put it back up. However, the hard drive the project was on crashed because of a mechanical error. I sent it off to be repaired earlier this year, but because of various things going on, it's been taking a while. So I figured I want this video to be available, and I want to do something smaller this month after the Glee video. Why not just remake it? So what you're about to watch is the first ever remake of one of my videos. For those of you who have seen it already, it's not the same as the old one. I've changed a few things, changed the editing, and updated some parts of the writing to be more in line with how I write these days. I'm also not as orange as I was in that video, so that's something. Enjoy. This is the sound of a broken record. It's caused by a buildup of dust or debris within the groove of a vinyl record, leading to the needle to jump out of place and skip backwards. The result is a looping of the same bit of music over and over and over and over. Let's start off with a new segment I like to call Put in the Oven or Throw in the Pot. No matter what you're making, it's gonna be hot takes. Here's a hot take. Spoon's the best band ever. I have small stakes and show you the Letterman blues. Born in '93, based in Austin, Spoon has been one of the most consistent bands in music. There is not a bad album in their discography, which you can't say for most bands. Yeah, let me know when they make their Magical Mystery Tour, am I right? Never mind, they never will. Just look at these records. Girls Can Tell, Kill the Moonlight, Gimme Fiction, Ga 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 Ga, They Want My Soul, Hot Thoughts, all managed to find new avenues for Spoon to explore while playing to the band's strengths. Not an outlier among these albums. Except one. Transference is the sixth studio album from Spoon, released in January 2010. In the years prior, Spoon had been gaining steam both critically and commercially. Specifically, their last record, Ga 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 Ga, was their most well-received record thus far, and is my favorite album of all time as of this exact second. And like many bands looking to follow up their most commercially successful work, they decided to get weird.
It really felt like things were happening, and I just thought then, we should just, make weird records from this point on.
And looking back at reviews, you can tell that desire to get weird led to a divisive album. Just look at its Metacritic score. Oh god, I can't even look at it. So that begs a question. Why talk about this album and not the other Spoon albums? Well, first, any video I make about those albums would basically be me fawning over them for 20 minutes straight, and while I may like that, you all might not. Second, when the band members talk about it, they have a certain reverence towards it. In a ranking done with Noisy, former bassist and Teenager of the Year, Robert Pop, named it their best record, saying it has a lot of home recordings, a lot of first takes, a lot of happy accidents, things that don't happen on big records that are very produced. We wanted to leave it very raw, almost kind of ugly. Britt had a similar take in a retrospective by Consequence of Sound, saying that was what that record was all about, making mistakes. I remember saying at the time, I want to make the mistakes that a band makes when they produce themselves. I want that kind of mess up on this record, because that's interesting. It was those quotes that inspired me to dig into this album more, and I want to break down my experience with it in 4 parts. Someone get popsicles, someone do something about this heat. I'm about to break the only rule I have for myself in life. I'm gonna mildly criticize Spoon. Their lyrics don't often mean anything directly. I mean, they're good at conjuring imagery or feelings, but stanzas about heavy metal bands we called Requiem, or Paper Tigers telling you where they stand, or spending the night in the map room and humanizing the vacuum, who has a map room anymore? Transference is the complete opposite. It's the most emotionally open thing Spoon has ever made, with lyrics that center on a ruined relationship or a jilted ex-lover. For example, before destruction, a man's heart is haughty. Just as you're leaving, you turn around and take a cold shot. You became like that on which your heart was fixed. Before I knew what was which, out with the lights. Got nothing to lose but darkness and shadow. Got nothing to lose but bitterness and patterns. The light bulb's gone out. I've seen it in your eyes. I've seen you blankly stare, and I want to show you how I love you, but there's nothing there. From these examples, it's fair to say that Transference is a breakup album, which already sets it apart in concept from the rest of Spoon's discography. There's a blunt, weary energy with which Britt talks about these romantic woes, an energy that's supplemented by I'm lost here. While these lyrics can be emotionally blunt and revealing, the music isn't. In fact, the songwriting itself is fairly repetitive. Most songs tend to stay at the same dynamic level for their runtime, and they have these long, static, drawn-out sections, so if you're not into them, they can feel like a slog. Who Makes Your Money is essentially just one chord for its majority. Out Go the Lights is, to me, a beautiful song, but it can feel aimless, with pretty much just one defined section that repeats. The Mystery Zone is just about 5 minutes long, and it's just a verse and chorus that repeat. On the Mystery Zone. The bridge at the end of Written in Reverse, the guitar is just playing one note for most of it. Same for the end of I Saw the Light. Speaking of that outro, okay, this is really dorky of me to do, and I can't confirm that this was intentional, but it's a neat connection. I want to tie this song to 17th century opera. I'm so much fun at parties. Dido and Aeneas is a Baroque opera written by Henry Purcell in the 1600s. It's your typical boy meets girl, girl falls in love with boy, boy leaves, girl dies story. Put it on for your next movie night. Perhaps the most well-known aria from it is Dido's Lament, in which the titular Dido is comforted by her maids as she dies from heartbreak. Aside from being just a beautiful piece of music, it features what's called the lament bass, a chromatically descending bass line starting from the tonic. Now let's go back to I Saw the Light and listen to that bass line in the second half. It's not an exact lament bass, but its essence is there. Plus, there's a macabre kind of irony in a song called I Saw the Light, using a musical motif to represent tragedy. Dido aside, though, the songwriting on Transference can often feel antagonistic, as if the album itself is apathetic to you even wanting to listen to it. But I keep thinking back to those quotes earlier from Britt and Rob. There was an attempt to do something here that hadn't been done on past Spoon projects. And as it turns out, the last piece of the Transference puzzle lies with Spoon is well known for their studio trickery, but Transference is the musical equivalent of a magician disappearing inside their own hat. The production on this record is like one of those jokes that's intentionally meant to go on for as long as possible, only to end with a punchline like, better Nate than Lever. Let's start with the opener, Before Destruction. The first time you hear Britt's voice on this track, and thus the whole record, is like this. He's the farthest thing in the mix. Is Love Forever, the snare, which is going for that classic whoopee cushion sound. And then Britt building and building in the final verse until... okay, he's gone. The Mystery Zone, after zoning out for nearly 5 minutes, the whole track starts to build. We're about to go somewhere. Written in Reverse, the last chorus has two Brits out of sync with each other. Someone better call a hearse. The track that best exemplifies the approach to production is Trouble Comes Running. Here it come running again. The version I'm playing now is the live version. Sounds like a fairly solid Spoon rocker, right? Now let's look at the studio version. Breaking down this mix, Britt's in the center, plus the bass guitar, that's pretty conventional. Pan to the right are vocal harmonies and guitar, kind of odd but not unheard of. And pan to the left are the drums, all of them, sounding like they were recorded in an abandoned warehouse. This song is a jam, but the mixing is so obtuse. And in that interview with Britt from earlier, he specifically cited this song as what they were trying to go for, saying, there's that song Trouble Comes Running, which if we recorded that in a real studio, would have been the hit on the record. I'm not saying it's not good, it's great, but it's never gonna get on the radio when it's recorded like that. He's right, listening back to the live version, it does sound like the hit. And yet they went with the demo version. This decision to highlight the demos and rough takes instead of pursuing studio perfection is the hallmark of Transference's ethos. Even with these sonic oddities, there are genuine moments of intimacy to be found. Goodnight Laura is a piano ballad that embraces its live room sound, and the result is a warm, inviting production. You can hear its influence on eventual Spoon hit Inside Out.
All I like 'cause our time's gone inside out.
Out Go the Lights features an instrumental outro with gorgeous intertwined guitar lines. Who Makes Your Money has been described as Spoon's first foray into minimalist funk, a direction they would continue and expound upon on Hot Thoughts. This record allowed the band to break down their signature style and rebuild it into something new and potentially even better. It's a turning point in the band's songwriting, production, and thematic approach. And this is the part where I start hypothesizing, so hear me out. This is a good time to bring up that album cover. It's an untitled photo by William Eggleston. Britt said about it, it told a story that a lot of men or boys have gone through, being stuck someplace like your aunt or grandmother's house, a sort of formal environment where he has got to be there for one reason or another. It was as if he had it together, had some kind of opinion on the proceedings, and I could feel all this from this one photo. Which is great and cool and sick and neat and valid, but I want to offer an alternate take on this cover based on the music. What if that guy's in therapy? What if the guy in this photo is in a situation where he has to be there for one reason or another, maybe for his own mental health or for the sake of his relationships with others, where he should be opening up to someone, but isn't, or perhaps more accurately, can't? And these blunt, emotional lyrics, repetitive song fragments, and production decisions are the musical representations of either a defense mechanism or someone genuinely trying to express themselves, and he instead uses this opportunity to project what he feels towards his ex onto whoever he's talking to. There's gotta be a word for that. Oh wait, there is. It's transference. I've saved this song for last because, to me, it summarizes each element I've covered to form the thesis of this record, if you will.
Nah, but it gets what I'm saying. Must be some way to convey.
The song starts simply enough, basic 4/4 beat, a bass line center and close in the mix. Britt starts off with lyrics mirroring the candid title. There are also these weird piano bits that come flying out of nowhere that sound like they've been transported in from a completely different song.
Nah, but it gets.
At a certain point, the groove starts to vamp with gradual white noise and a keyboard part playing rubbing seconds. In a second, the guitar part will come in, and tell me if you hear anything odd. The guitar and bass parts don't sound in line with each other. It sounds like one of them is shifted off by a whole beat. The question is, which one? Is the guitar coming in early? Was the bass part always a beat off from the one? I think this is a musical expression of the title. These two parts are unable to properly lock in and communicate. An inability to communicate might be the sole thing that, in a weird way, makes Transference so underrated. The ways the lyrics, songwriting, and production meld together to form this obtuse, sometimes frustrating listen, that is one of the closest things musically to someone guarded attempting, however unsuccessfully, to express themselves. And while it may not be the best thing Spoon has ever done, it might be the most interesting. Nobody Gets Me But You ends on a musical ellipsis, with no answer to whether the singer ever gains anything from truly expressing himself. His voice yelling out, yet becoming farther back in the mix as those off-kilter piano sounds drown him out. Has he been consumed by these frustrations, these anxious thoughts? Or maybe the real victory is the fact that they're surfacing at all. And by finally being able to express them, he can move forward.
But it gets what it said. Must be some way to convey it. But no one else remembers my name. Just those parts that I played. No, but it gets